Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to on the show here today. We got some more minor league signings by the Brewers. We got an announcement of the minor league coaching staffs that the Brewers have put out. But also the big news really across Major League Baseball and where I want to start here, Framber Valdez. So initially, with the whole Framber Valdez saga, which has gone on all offseason, he was one of the top free agent starters. He has lasted until now on the free agent market. And initially, I wanted to talk about Bob Nightingale's article that he put out on Wednesday, where he listed 6 landing spots for Valdez. And, he runs down the list, and a lot of them are, the usual suspects. It's the Baltimore Orioles. It's the Toronto Blue Jays, the Padres, the Cubs, the Tigers, where ultimately Framber Valdez ended up signing on a 3-year, $115 million deal. But then at the end, his 6th team, the Milwaukee Brewers, as a landing spot for Framber Valdez. Now, initially, you may look at that and be like, well, that's dumb. That was never going to happen. And that was my same reaction as well. The Brewers were absolutely not going to be getting Framber Valdez. And, he talks about here, it's like, oh, yeah, considering they haven't spent anything in free agency, everyone's grumbling about losing Peralta, which I don't think there's been that much grumbling about Peralta. I think, by and large, Brewers fans get it by now. We've been through it before with Hader, with Burns, with Williams. We understand where they're coming from. At least I do. But, it's a fun thought, but it was never going to happen. Framber Valdez to the Tigers, huge money, just absolutely stupid amount of money that the Brewers were never going to give to a starting pitcher, especially starting pitcher over the age of 30. It was just not going to happen. But at the end here, Nightingale puts in, the Brewers privately say they are still interested in signing a free agent pitcher. They could shoot for the sun and leave the Cubs cursing under their breath. Now, obviously, Framber Valdez not happening here. But it is interesting. The note here that the Brewers privately saying that they are still interested in signing a free agent pitcher. Now, again, it should be noted, the Brewers just traded away 2 starting pitchers and only received back 1 in the Freddie Peralta trade. Peralta and Myers were out. Brandon Sproat came in. So they're down 1 in the depth department in terms of starting pitching. That being said, they still have a very deep group of MLB-ready starting pitchers. I could understand them wanting to get some more because, as we saw last year, you can never have enough starting pitching. Okay, these guys can go down at any moment, and you can need as much help as you can. Because last year they went into spring training not thinking they would need Jose Quintana, but they ended up having to sign Jose Quintana because they needed some depth. They needed some help in that group with all the injuries that ended up happening. So if you have something similar happen again, having another pitcher wouldn't be the worst thing. Also, that being said, Framber Valdez never really made sense for that kind of depth signing. Being interested in signing a free agent starter, signing a free agent pitcher, doesn't necessarily mean you're signing the best guy out there. I think the Brewers would be more on like the Jordan Montgomery tier of shopping the free agent market. They're not in the aisle where Framber Valdez is, where Chris Bassett is most likely. So that never really made much sense to me, but it is interesting that they're still looking. I mentioned Jordan Montgomery because I still think Jordan Montgomery would make a ton of sense to return to the Brewers, either on, most likely on a minor league deal, just to try and, build himself back up and see if he can be a depth option because, if things go sideways and, among all your healthy options, Montgomery is at least a proven MLB starter versus some of their other guys that they have in this group. Coleman Crowe is not a proven MLB starter. Carlos Rodriguez, as much as I like him, is not a proven MLB starter. Brandon Sproat, as much as the Brewers like him, not a proven MLB starter. So you could get a guy like that. I think that's more the tier we're looking at here for the Brewers being potentially interested in adding another starter. It is noteworthy that he put that in there. Now, this could also be like, hey, would you guys be interested in signing a pitcher? And, I could very easily see Matt Arnold just saying, Yeah, I think we're always going to be interested if there's someone out there that can help the team, as just kind of your basic boilerplate GM answer. Like, they're always going to be interested in someone that can help the team. You can never have enough pitching. So, yeah, they're always going to be interested in bringing in another pitcher because you can never have enough pitching. So, that could just be generic GM talk that Matt Arnold is giving, if that is Nightingale's source. But any front office guy is going to tell you the same thing. You can never have enough pitching. So sure, we're always going to be interested in adding another pitcher. Do the Brewers ultimately add anyone else to this pitching staff? I don't know. I think they need to add a right-handed reliever to this group to add some depth there. I don't think they necessarily need to add another starter at this point, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. Especially for signing guys on minor league deals, there's no such thing as a bad minor league deal. So if someone's there, bring him in. Sure, why not? Stash him in AAA if you need to. But as for seeking a starter on the Framber Valdez level, was not going to happen, and ultimately, obviously, did not happen because he goes to the Detroit Tigers, which the Tigers this year with Skubal and Framber Valdez is going to be fascinating. Of course, this is most likely Skubal's last year. He had his arbitration hearing, so who knows how all that's going to shake out, but still. Certainly a wild situation there, and Detroit, they're going for it because that AL Central is wide open. Meanwhile, the Brewers made another announcement here on Wednesday. They announced the coaching staffs for their minor league affiliates this year. So this is where we see a bunch of promotions for some of these minor league coaches. We see guys moving up, moving around. We also got the answers for what in the world Julio Bourbon and Al LaBeouf are going to be doing because they were removed from the major league coaching staff from this past season, and they were instead reassigned within the organization. We didn't know what that was going to be until now. So Julio Bourbon, last year's first base coach, will be a special advisor to player development and scouting, and Al LaBeouf, lead hitting coach last year, will be a special advisor to player development and baseball operations. So those guys have their titles over there. Also, the Brewers have made some other names and additions here. Brian Conger is going to be the director of player development after spending the last 5 years with the Cincinnati Reds as their pitching coordinator and senior pitching coordinator. So he's bounced around in Major League Baseball here. Joe Eirault, who has been a field manager for Brewers affiliates in the last couple of years, spent the last 2 years in Double-A Biloxi as the manager, has been promoted to field coordinator. So he gets a nice little bump up in promotion there. So he's going to be bouncing around all the affiliates. And so he is no longer the manager of Double-A Biloxi. And returning to Biloxi is Mike Guerrero, where he spent the last 2 years as a roving infield instructor. Prior to that, he was manager for the Shuckers for several years. 2016 to 2023, he's managed 27 seasons in the Brewers organization. Longtime Brewers guy. Was dealing with some health issues the last couple of years, so that's why he kind of left the manager's chair and kind of to a less stressful position while he was getting healthier. Now he's back, and he is running AAA or Double-A Biloxi. Rick Sweet is back running AAA Nashville once again. Not a surprise there. Nick Stanley gets promoted to a manager of low or high A Wisconsin, and the Brewers got a new manager for Low A Wilson, Eddie Morgan, who has most recently been the head coach at Concordia University, Wisconsin, in Mequon. He spent the last 12 years there as their head coach. So, he has gone from, D3 school right here in Wisconsin to now, managing in the Brewers organization. That is incredible. That is fantastic. Props to you, Eddie Morgan, being able to make that jump. So happy for him. Previously, the head coach at UW Superior, so longtime D3 guy, finally gets his chance to make it to the professional level, so very excited for him. And also among the moves here, the promotions, you remember Tyler Thornburg, former Brewers reliever, traded to the Red Sox for Travis Shaw fantastic trade. By the way, that was one of the best of David Stern's tenure for sure. What Travis Shaw turned into those first couple of years. Tyler Thornburg spent last year as associate coach for AA Biloxi, which basically pitching coach, and he has now been promoted to pitching coach at AAA Nashville. So Thornburg, he gets to move up the system here. The Brewers have done this in the past. Jim Henderson, who's one of the Brewers pitching coaches on the big league staff, he was a longtime Brewer, and then he went back down to the minor leagues, and he was a coach there, became a pitching coach, down there in Nashville, and then ultimately got bumped up to being a pitching coach with the big league club. So Tyler Thornburg kind of following a similar track here. So happy for him. So you got a couple of really nice moves here, a couple of nice promotions for this player development staff, because these coaches are they're incredibly important for these young prospects. We talk about the prospects all the time and what they mean to the organization, how they can help this team be competitive year in and year out going forward. It starts with your player development staff. The Brewers have one of the best in the business, and just continually getting better. So some fantastic news there. Great to see, some of these guys getting promotions, getting moved up the system. Great to see Mike Guerrero back in AA Biloxi. So yeah, we got some moves there, promotions. Very excited for all these guys, and they're very, very important to what the Brewers are going to be ending up doing here as an organization. And these guys are going to be working with a couple of other minor league signings that the Brewers have got into the organization here over the past couple of days. The Brewers have signed outfielder Jordan Adams to a minor league deal, and also outfielder Jacob Hurtubise. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Hurtubise, something like that. They signed Jacob, and he's an outfielder as well. These guys are on minor league deals, joining the organization. So Jordan Adams was actually formerly a first-round pick a while ago. I mean, he's 26 years old now, but he came up with the Los Angeles Angels. First-round pick by them back in 2018, 17th overall. So when you look back to that 2018 MLB draft, just kind of going through that list there of those guys, it is quite the group. But Jordan Adams was picked at 17, which was 4 spots ahead of Bryce Terang. So yeah, not great drafting choices there by the Angels. Adams bounced around, has not really had success. Has in his career 79 at bats at the big league level with a -1 WAR. So it hasn't exactly gone too well for him at the big league level over the past couple of years. Spent last season with Baltimore, but now he joins the organization. Jacob Hurtubise is also in here as well, and he's again hasn't had a ton of MLB experience, just 66 career at bats. But he signs a minor league deal with the Brewers. He spent the past couple of years with the Reds. So now he joins Milwaukee as a depth piece for the minor leagues. They've been stocking up on a couple of those guys lately, trying to stock the upper minors with some more outfield depth, because the Brewers don't really have a ton of outfield prospects in the upper minors. They've obviously made the investment there early on in drafts in recent years, but all those guys have now graduated. Your Sal Freliks, your Garrett Mitchells, your Jackson Churios of the world. They have all moved up to the big league level. And the Brewers really haven't drafted a ton of outfielders to backfill them. So that's kind of an area of weakness in terms of the prospect depth of the organization. So getting in guys like this on minor league deals help fill out your AA and AAA rosters so that they can actually have some guys to field a team throughout the season. Whether they become big league depth pieces, or not, it's going to be up to how they play. But certainly, if you play well, you can earn yourself a promotion. That's what Isaac Collins did. The Brewers brought in Isaac Collins on a minor league Rule 5 pick, and sure enough, he just ended up playing so well, they had to call him up. And he had a great rookie season as a 28-year-old. So it's an opportunity to prove yourself, and maybe a change of scenery will help these guys find some footing in their professional career here and get a chance to break into the big leagues. Although the Brewers outfield is pretty well stacked, so that is going to make it difficult for them. But hey, couple more names added to the rosters. They'll be with the team in spring training. We'll probably see them a little bit in Cactus League games. But as we get later on, I mean, they'll be on the minor league side, and they'll be playing in AA and AAA throughout the season as they try and get things going there. Because we're so close. We are 1 week away from the start of spring training. Pitchers and catchers report in 7 days. We are almost there. We got to get through the Super Bowl this weekend, and then after that, pitchers and catchers reporting, and it is just an absolutely fantastic time to be alive. Think warm thoughts, think of Arizona, think of sunshine, think of baseball, because we are just 1 week away. It is almost here. We'll see if the Brewers make any more additions to the Major League roster. I kind of doubt it at this point. I think there's going to be maybe a handful more minor league signings from guys who are still out there as free agents that know camp is starting soon and just want to get into a camp somewhere. So instead of holding out for a major league deal, they will accept a minor league one, and they will get themselves just into camp and try and prove themselves and earn a spot. So there could be some more of that activity here over the next several days, but we are 1 week away from pitchers and catchers reporting. And then we got baseball every single day. We got workouts. We're going to have Cactus League games, and it is going to be fascinating to watch. I can't wait for it. And we'll be with you every single step of the way here on Brewers Daily. Be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.